This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions. Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Invest Like a Pro, and I'm going to give you a stock market update. I'm doing this as of Thursday's close for Friday morning. Let's go ahead and get into it. I do want to go through the market conditions, and I'm going to go through the different time frames, both trend and momentum, but I want to focus in at the end on a specific trade setup. Let's go ahead and get into this. I start from the bottom up here. We got the sentiment number at 10%. Pretty good drop in the number of bulls this week, and a few more bears. So this number dropped pretty significantly over the last week or so. Now, it's still considered neutral. We never really got a quality signal between the sentiment number and the overbought reading. We're looking for this reading here with the sentiment where the bulls are up around, mid 50s or something like that. If we have that combination, then we have a really nice sell signal. Now, we're not also getting a good buy signal either. I mean, we're not getting anything. This was the last really good buy signal. We don't have an extreme yet at this point. So we're kind of neutral here in overbought oversold oscillator using an RSI 5 on the weekly. And the sentiment number has kind of working its way back down from getting close to too bullish. It never really got there. So both of these are neutral. One of the key things that I keep bringing up each week is the volatility. And, we look at both the weekly and the daily, and they're both sitting positively, meaning we don't have enough volatility and increase in volatility to suggest a big drop is imminent. Typically, you will get an increase of volatility before the market gets hit. So there are times when it happens at the exact same time, but I would say more often than not, we're going to see this work up through the moving average and cup around before we get any kind of a big hit to the downside. So I'm kind of watching this, and I notice that we get a little uptick. We just got a tiny little uptick based on the size of this daily bar. But it's not shifting the moving average at all. It's well below the moving average. It probably wants to rally up towards the moving average again. But we don't have any changes. And then the weekly is actually going to another new low. So we take that for what it's worth. It's not the end all be all, but it is another part of the market conditions. So as you start building up the evidence as to whether we're getting ready for a big drop, and we don't have any evidence on the negative side right now. Let's go ahead and get into the individual time frames, because I'm going to start with a monthly and I'm going to work my way around to an hourly, but then I'm going to go all the way down to a 2-minute. So I want to keep showing you different trade setups, give you different examples, show you different things from my course that I think can be valuable and in real time. So if we start with the monthly chart, we have this declining 18-month, and we finished the month. You see how what happened? We finished the month yesterday in kind of a bearish fashion. We opened up, made a push up to the line, to the 18-month line, and then came all the way down and closed pretty much near its lows for the month. Now, I'll show you why I think we're rallying in the near term, but we just don't have any real evidence of being taken control by either the buyers or the sellers. This worked off the overbought condition when the MACD came down. We don't see a lot of selling strength. We see some sellers. Sellers are a little bit stronger than buyers, but they're not that powerful at this point on the monthly. On the weekly, we went through a full bearish phase to the downside, and now we've rallied up and created a rally like an ABC type of a rally where the MACD has now gotten back up to the zero line, and we don't have any strength in the momentum. So I call these neutral. They're not really negative. Green is above red. MACD is actually above the zero line now, and it's above its signal line, so you can't really call it negative. but it's in a position where it could turn negative. So we've been watching this trend line. It got right up against it. It even broke it intraday. In fact, I think it broke it on a closing basis as well, but it has not. It's broken the 18-week, but it has not broken the 40-week yet. And typically, if you think about a 2 time frame trade, you get a rally up to a declining 18-month, and now we're looking for a close below the 40 to really have confirmation of a reversal back down. What I've been saying, and especially to my subscribers, I'm seeing improvement in the underlying universe. Now, this trend is bearish below the 18-month, but I can tell you about 50% of the stocks that I look at in my reviews, I would say about half of the large cap universe even, is in a positive trend, not in a bearish trend. So we have to take that into account. I think that limits the potential for some massive drop, but that doesn't mean we can't work our way back down. The only thing that I'll tell you is that we were right on the brink, right there, and there was no follow through to the downside. So, I mean, we have to kind of look at the evidence every day and see whether we get new signs of selling strength or new signs of buying strength. And let's go look at the daily chart, because we're not getting either one really. Look at this decline. I mean, this is a negative day. This was the worst day. If you go and look at this, all this price action, this is really the only real clearly bearish day. You gap down, you had a tiny little push to the upside, and then you have the pretty good sized red bar to the downside. There was downside follow through. This is like, you know, really narrow range body. This was kind of down and then came back. This was a bad day, but it closed above where it opened. This gapped up and closed up for the day after giving back. This was a kind of a narrow range bar, another narrow range bar, and then we got a pretty good sized bar here. Now the volume isn't all that great. Here's the other thing. Look at the red DI and the green DI. Neither one of these are showing any real strength, and that's why this ADX line keeps dropping. These are just overlapping, and they're right next to each other. They're basically at the same level, and this is going to keep dropping as long as these stay close. The MACD is getting close to overrunning the zero line, but right now it does kind of qualify as a zero line reversal potential. We got a little histogram improvement. I think what this wants to do is rally a little bit. If you look at this 18 and what it's telling us, we're not in a full-fledged bearish trend because the 18 is not below the 40 yet. Okay, but price is below both. We have a rising 40 and a declining 18, but we got too far away from this 18. I think we need to rally back towards that. We got extended on that from that standpoint. MACD also got down to the little support area, so it does make sense. We don't have enough strength in the sellers to expect a lot of follow through right away. So the odds are that this is going to bounce a little bit more. I mean, that's where I'd be leaning right now. And when this gets extended like that, we start to look for signs. Are there any changes in the momentum on the next lower time frame? So this is the way you do it. You have one time frame that's down, but getting too far away from the moving average. So you have this opening here, right? We have an air pocket to play back to the upside to move this movement. So we go and look for this air pocket on this time frame. What we want to do is this is going down is see if we're losing momentum to the downside. Well, look at what happened. We had strong momentum here. And I'm hoping you guys are seeing this. I know I mentioned to my subscribers that this was a reverse divergence here. And now we had a new low in price, and the ADX didn't make it really above 25. So you should be looking for a reversal. That coincides with what I'm talking about. A reversal on this time frame will get this back up towards the 18. Now, if it's really strong, we'll get some big green bars and we'll work our way through the 18 on this time frame. And this will be bouncing off the 18, and then we'll eventually work our way through this 18-month line. I mean, if it plays out that way, that's the way this is going to work. But we don't know any of that yet. Right now, we're caught between a rising 18-week and a declining 18-month. We don't have any real evidence of buyer or selling strength. So it's not a bad idea to try and play some of these little moves where you get extended on the downside and you get this undercut pattern. Look at this undercut. You see how that undercut and then had a little rally and then turned up. Let's look at the 10-minute chart. We'll zoom in on this bottom here and look at, you can see the undercut and then we rallied up, and notice what happened during the rally phase. That's all through here. You see how the MACD held the signal line through this whole period? Now, when we're on a divergent pattern and we're just hit a new low, I like to wait for this line to start rising before I start looking for any kind of signal. So this was still declining. We had a pinch play right here, but because it's below the zero line and it's still kind of weak and it's more of a divergent signal, you know, I don't like that as much because the 18 was declining. But then we get a move, and this is lower high, another lower high right here. And we have a pinch play develop, and the 18 is rising now. Low ADX in place. Now, I want to take this down one more time frame. I mean, you could have traded this off the 10-minute. You know you have a divergent signal with the ADX, which suggests that there could be a reversal taking place. Notice how I said could be. There's no guarantees in what I'm doing. I'm just telling you the probabilities are really high when you have a strong trend that is now not being confirmed. Okay, and then when we look at this pattern, we can go to a 2-minute chart and see what happened. Look at this. Look at the way this developed. So once we moved up here and started to consolidate here, this ADX line dropped down and stayed low. I want to show you this. We have this horizontal line in place because we had move to the upside with low ADX, no sign of buyers really breaking out yet, and then we drop back down. So now we have this kind of key level. We rallied up to it here. Do you see how green DI broke out but price did not? This is a false signal. You do not take that signal. Look at how green DI broke out again, and this did not. False signal. These are false signals. You do not take those. Okay, we don't have ADX confirmation crossing 25. We have green DI trying to break out without price. Keep this in mind when you're looking at this stuff. So we have this trend line going across, and now look what happens. We get price breaking out. Green DI clearly takes out all of this level, and then you get your little pinch play entry. And when you have a 2-minute chart, especially coming off of a pinch play, so this is a 2-time frame pinch coming off a divergence of ADX. You see how all these, we just keep spinning. We spin our wheels. We keep going around wheels. We start with a monthly, go down to a weekly, go down to the daily, go down to the hourly, and then go down to a 10-minute, and then we look at the 2-minute, and it just gives us an absolute gift. And yeah, I mean, it was a day trade. That's all it is. But you want to keep thinking this way. You want to get your time frames sorted out. You want to know how to use three consecutive time frames to play a reversion to the mean trade, which I think is what's developing here. Now, it might only last another 24 or 48 hours. For all I know, there'll be some economic data that comes out, Friday morning before the market opens and cause this to be down. And that's why I like looking for these short-term trades, intraday trades, when we don't know, we don't have any conviction yet between the monthly and the weekly. So anyway, that's the update for the week. Go ahead and let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thanks.